Poland has become a home for people from many countries around the world, as many see this country as a place to start their career. What opportunities can be found here in case of media career? We will talk about that in this episode of Poland Today. Our guest today is Sean Magavu, journalist from Zimbabwe, host of the Zimbabwean radio program in Poland, Smoke That Thunders. Hello, it's really nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Since how long have you been living here in Poland?
So I came in Poland in 2020, wearing a mask because it was during COVID. So I've been here for 6 years in total.
And what were your first impressions here?
Cold. It's a very traditional answer, but it was really cold because I got here on December 13, just 2 weeks before Christmas. And I think my biggest shock was on Christmas Day. All the shops were closed. And I didn't really settle in, like McDonald's was closed, or like everything was closed besides one kebab shop, which saved my life.
That's a funny story. And you came here for what reason? Particularly for starting a media career or something else?
So actually, my first degree was in medical biology at UMCS in Lublin. So I'm an alumni of UMCS, and when I was at UMCS, I was also part of like TV UMCS and radio UMCS, and I really found my passion for like journalism in that spectrum.
So first you came for more like a medical career, or what were your?
I initially came for like a medical career. The dream is to be a dentist in the future, but I guess media found me.
Mm-hmm. And what were your impressions at university?
Well, I loved my university because I think it's the biggest university in Eastern Poland, UMCS, and it was like very multicultural, where people from different countries. I think the only difference between like universities in Poland and maybe America or Africa is there's less loyalty to the university. Like, if you go to Harvard in United States, you carry Harvard on your chest. You're a Harvard alumni wherever you go. But then in Poland, you just go to university, you get your degree, and you like move on with your life. Mm-hmm.
So but you also have like some, I don't know, hoodies with the logo of the university, or?
Yeah. No, I really love the university because it gave me a lot of opportunities. I also started a band there, and I remember we used to play music, sort of like African music, and would go to like smaller villages that surround Lublin, and it was very, very like interesting to meet like people who had probably never seen a black person before, and most of them would call me Michael Jackson because of the hat. And it was a really, really like interesting time because from like far away, and to these people, this is their first experience of a foreigner, and that's one thing that I'll always carry for the rest of my life.
And then you came to Warsaw. How was the switch from the first place to Warsaw?
Well, Warsaw, like when I was in Lublin, I absolutely hated Warsaw. Everything was big, everything was fast. In Lublin, there are no metro stations, there are no trams. It's one bus, one night bus. But then in Warsaw, there's like so much movement, so many people. And I remember the first thing that I distinctly remember about Warsaw was people were speaking English in the streets. From Lublin, I never heard English in the streets. It was Polish. Mm-hmm. I come to Warsaw, I'm hearing people speaking English in the streets. I'm like, are we in Germany? It was like a totally different experience for me. So I think that was the biggest difference between Lublin and Warsaw. And also, obviously, Warsaw is more expensive. So that also was quite noticeable.
And it's also interesting for me, the switch from your home country to Poland. What differences do you see?
Well, I would say the biggest difference is Poland initially seems colder in terms of not just the climate, but the people. As the old adage saying goes, Polish people really smile. But once they do smile and they let you in, they're like brothers for life. So I remember some of the like friends that I made in my university days in Lublin, they are like my brother, they're like the people I call like right now, because they really are very cautious when letting people in, but once they let you in, they keep you there. Then the other difference is time. In Poland, everything is about time. You can't be 5 minutes late, you can't be 6 minutes late. A minute late at your job is like you have basically killed someone. That's how seriously they take time. So I say that's the biggest difference. Also the food, and I think you can always tell about a country's culture through its food. So if you think of like Polish food, it's mostly soups. I was really shocked that in Poland, someone can have like tomato soup, but you just pomidorova.
Yes.
And that's like their lunch and they're done. And I'm like, how can you guys just eat soup? Soup is like a starter, a side dish, but then in Poland, it can be the main dish, which I think is like very, very different, where we have to eat like 3 or 4 courses for it to be an actual meal.
But was it difficult to switch to Polish food for you, or?
I still haven't switched.
No?
I do like certain dishes. Schabowy. I like schabowy, but then it's basically pork chops, so it's not like super Polish. The foods that I've really tried and failed is it kashanka, the blood sausage? Absolutely bad idea. And I also don't like certain Polish recipes of like foods. For example, there is sometimes Polish people put strawberries into pasta. And I'm like, no, that's gotta be illegal because it's not a really good idea. But I think those are the foods that I've tried and I have failed in eating.
But you also found here, I don't know, some places where you can eat African food, for example, in Warsaw?
Yeah, there is some, like, there are some African restaurants, but like I'm also a really picky eater. So I love African food, but once a year. Even in Africa, I didn't love African food. So yeah, there are some African foods because obviously in Warsaw, it's a big city. I think there are like 4 or 5 African restaurants, but I still just prefer the standard food like pizza. Yeah, I'm not super specific.
I would like to go back. We talked a bit about building community between Polish people, but what about community between African people and your Zimbabwean community in the radio? How did you find those people?
So I think my story, like I've always, after COVID, if I can take it back to there, like after staying in your room by yourself, all those long hours, you really realize the importance of people. I think COVID made us crave more for people. So once COVID finished, I was going everywhere. I was going to church because I'm Catholic, so I was going to church every week. And that was the first community I made. And then obviously through other jobs that I had and through the other events and parties, the community grows. And if you've been in Poland for like 6 years, your community becomes pretty big. And with the radio show, it's part of EB Radio. So my Brazilian friend actually called me for an interview and they also liked me. And then I started the community. And then with that radio community, we meet every month just to like see each other and hug each other and to laugh in our languages and to talk in our languages and to complain in our languages, which is needed once in a while. So that's kind of how the community works and that's how we keep the community alive.
And can you say more about EMI Radio? What is that?
So it is a radio show. I think the editor's name is Vitek, and it's been going on for like 10 years. The 10-year anniversary in January. And I think it's probably the only radio station in Poland that has different languages. So there's also Georgian, there's obviously English, there's also Polish. There are also like very specific languages like Swahili, which is like one of the most spoken languages in Africa. So it's a really interesting group of people and, it's really fun.
But your radio show is hosted in English or?
It's mostly in English. Like sometimes we do put in Shona, which is a local Zimbabwean language, but I think the hosts, me and a lady called Mercy, we speak English more than we speak Shona, even at home. Like we pray in English, we think in English, we complain in English. So English is kind of like our first language, but we also speak Shona here and there. Our Shona isn't the best, but we also speak some Shona.
And who are your listeners? Who are the people that you do the radio for?
I think mostly the Zimbabweans and the Africans in Poland. That's our immediate audience because actually when I left Lublin, the third biggest minority group in Lublin were now Zimbabweans because
That's interesting.
because we're this huge influx of Zimbabweans coming to Poland and then going to the UK. So I think there was like a big shortage of nurses from the NHS. So from 2020 to 2023, there were a lot of Zimbabweans coming into Poland to study nursing, and then they would go to the United Kingdom because like Zimbabwe and the United Kingdom have like a long standing relationship, and obviously there's English there, so it's easy to work there. So that's our immediate, those are our immediate listeners. But we also have some Polish listeners who are interested to learning culture, and since it's in English, like anyone can listen to it.
And what do you talk about? Who are your also guests? Because you host programs and you also invite some guests.
Well, most of our guests are people that we find interesting. So we don't necessarily chase the personality, we chase the story. So there are people who've had like really crazy stories of coming like to Poland. I know like a lady who came to Poland when she was 45. And then she basically was just jumping from job to job to job. She lost her marriage, she broke her leg. So there are a lot of like very interesting stories that we get to listen and that we get to spread and that we get to motivate and inspire different Zimbabweans, because sometimes as a foreigner it does get really difficult because, you know, we're far from home. If something really bad happens to you, you've got no family because your family is back home. So we have to be that family.
That's really like nice to hear. Like you create like a warm place to warm people's hearts.
Yeah, that's
going back home.
Yeah, it is a gift. Sometimes it can be like emotionally expensive because you're getting to listen to like some really sad stories. But sometimes we just have fun with it, especially when it's the late night show. We'll be just waffling and making jokes and just, you know, having fun, because at the end of the day, sometimes we're the only fun that people can have.
And do you also invite some singers?
Yes, yes, we do invite some singers because I'm also from a musical background in Poland. I actually won this like Polish award in 2022 called the Żurawia Award, and I was like the first foreigner to win it.
That's amazing.
So I do like know a lot of singers, and I've not only worked with like African artists or musicians, I've also worked with like some Polish, some Ukrainian artists, and then some Ukrainian bands. So we do bring a lot of musicians, upcoming musicians. We have some really, really big artists that are here in Poland, like in terms of their numbers on YouTube and on TikTok. But then because like there's really not that ecosystem for them to perform, they become like what we call bedroom singers instead of like actual artists.
And you touched a bit about your music career. Can you talk more about this?
Oh yes. So I'd never been I went to music class when I was young, but I was never, basically, if you can't sing, you shouldn't do music. And I can't sing. I can't sing to save my life.
How did you get the award then?
So I got the award because I kind of know how to orchestrate and to bring people together musically. So what I did is I created a band, and for that band, I would produce and write, and I would like write down the concerts. So we'd have like really amazing concerts where we would say maybe around the world in 2 hours, and would have people from like 10 to 12 different countries. And for like 2 hours in like a theater, people are like going around the world musically. So that's kind of the stuff that I was into. And yeah, it was really, really good. I then got tired because it's like really exhausting emotionally, and sometimes it gets like very, very tiring.
Would you say Poland's changed something in you or in your career? For sure, yes, but like in yourself?
Yes, it has. I think it's made me more logical.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's made me more logical because I think when you speak to a lot of Polish people, I think they are emotional, but at their homes. They are not emotional on the streets. They don't do things based on emotion. Well, the Polish people that I have met, they will take the most logical decision. Whereas in Africa, we believe in miracles. We believe in imagination. We believe in anything is possible. Well, I think to some extent we kind of have a bit of that American mindset, that the American dream. So we believe anything can happen and anything will happen. Whereas in Poland, they believe what will happen, what will most likely happen will happen. So I think it's made me more logical, less emotional, but also more emotional to the people around me. So to the world, I'm less emotional, but to my family, I'm more emotional because I understand that I have to be emotional with them.
You said about your family. Is your family living here or is back in your home country?
No, it's back home, but then my little brother is coming this year. So that's gonna be pretty interesting because, he's 19 and he gets to see Paul for the first time. The only advantage he has is he has an older brother, which is me, but that's gonna be very interesting.
Did you have the chance to see your family during these years, or?
Yes, I've had a chance, and when you leave a place, the place leaves you. So when you go back home, it's home, yes, but it's not home in the sense of you aren't necessary for home to function anymore. So you're there, but you're there as a visitor because it's not your world anymore. If you've been in Poland for 6 years, that's kind of your home temporarily, of course. Even in Poland, you're still visiting. You're just visiting for a really long time. But then due to the structure and to its setup, this is where you feel most comfortable.
I would like to go back to your media career.
Yeah.
You have some experience, so maybe you will have some advice to foreigners that want to start a media career here in Poland?
Yeah, I think you have to be yourself, but then you have to be yourself and also respect the system that you're in. Because I think we live in an age where traditional media is under threat because anyone can go in their room and just say horrible things and then trend. Because, on things online, they take the things that get the most interactions, and what gets the most interactions are polarizing topics, not sensible news. So I think if you're gonna do media, you have to find your honesty, your authenticity in that space and still be you, but then also understand that you also have to respect the system and the platform that you have.
For just ending here, I would like also to ask you for your plans for the future. Do you want to stay here? Do you plan to go, I don't know, to the UK or anything else?
Oh, no, I think for the foreseeable future, I plan on staying here. And the main reason is I've learned too much Polish to leave.
Really? You know the language?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Polish. The funniest thing is I also play football with people in Poland, especially and also in the Prague region. And the funny thing is we have I have a teammate who can understand English but can't speak it, and I can understand Polish, but I can't speak it as well as I would like. So usually when we're talking our languages, nodding, and then we understand each other, but we don't talk to each other. I don't know if that makes sense. We're one person speaks Polish, I understand what he's saying, but then I have to try to speak the worst Polish possible to respond. Or I have to speak in English, then he has to understand. But so we are never speaking the same language, but we're always understanding each other. So I think, I've learned too much Polish for me to leave. I have to stay just for that.
Okay. We were talking about building media career here in Poland. With me was Sean Magavu from Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for having this talk with you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I really enjoyed this. Thank you.